Let's take a quick look here at, this is from Cobra Firearms. They're made out of Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a little small 9mm. And I've got, let me kind of hold it in a way that you can see it there. I've got some snap caps in this thing. This is a nice looking gun from Cobra, but you can pull the hammer back, squeeze the trigger, one barrel, second barrel. It didn't cock that easy. The trigger certainly didn't fire like that when I got it. When I opened the gun up, there was no oil in the gun at all. Everything was extremely dry inside of here. I think they get a bad rap sometimes because everybody says it takes like 3 men to cock it, 2 men to pull the trigger on it. But once I took it apart and I polished all the mechanisms in it, the trigger, everything that touches there. There's a small cam that's rotating in there. I just polished all that stuff up really good using some mothers. I put some fairly thick grease rubbed around on everything, and it lightened everything up for me. You just pull this screw off here, this screw off here. There's one main pin. You pop out, everything comes out. Be very careful. Pay attention to how things come out. Give you a quick piece of advice here. This cam right here, the one that's kind of odd shaped there with the 4 pieces on it, pay attention to how that cam is in there. Take a red marker or something and put a dot on it or a mark. Make sure you know which side's up. I really couldn't tell the difference between what was up and down when I was trying to put that piece back in, and when I put it back together the first time and went and fired it, it was only firing on one chamber there. It wouldn't adjust and hit the other chamber for me. So I had to pop it back apart, flip that cam over, and then it started going the lower chamber, the upper chamber when it was firing for me. I really like the gun. I like the way it fires. It wasn't bad at all. It has some kick to it. Of course, you got a little small gun. This thing weighs 14 ounces with 2 rounds in it. So it's a little small firearm, but watch the trigger here when you squeeze the trigger. See where the trigger is? The trigger is actually going to go in a downward motion here when I push it. So you see how it comes down? So I was trying to hold it like a regular firearm and get the tip of my finger up here on it. It's really hard to push, but if you just kind of wrap your finger around the trigger there, just wrap it right around it, and you give it a little squeeze, and it rotates in a downward motion and fires. It was stainless, so it was kind of slippery underneath here. The whole piece is. So what I did is I cut a piece of talon grip. That's some talon grip there. It has some skateboard tape, is what it feels like. It's the really rough talon grips right here. And then I put the soft rubbery talon grips all the way around this piece so I could get more grip on that also. I guess you could put it on here if you wanted to. I didn't feel like it needed it though, but it did need it on that trigger. Once I put that on that trigger, when I put my finger on that trigger and pull it, my finger really grips and sticks to that trigger now, makes it easy to pull. There is a safety on the firearm. You got it cocked right here. You just push that in and it's on safe. So if you fire it, see it stops short. It won't go in there and make contact with the firing pins. But if you want to take the safety off, you of course push from this side, push the safety back off. But it's really hard to take the safety off. And I guess that's a good thing. So if you got this thing cocked in your pocket or something, it doesn't pop off on its own. But I think you'd be pretty safe carrying it like this and then pulling it all the way back to fire the thing and not having to fight with that safety. But safety's there for a reason. You'll have to choose whether you go half cock with the safety on and then you have to take the safety off, go the rest of the way to fire the gun. But again, you'll have to choose how you carry this small thing. Nice little gun. It actually was fairly accurate. I was only shooting at about 10 feet. It was pretty accurate on here. It was shooting, I think it shot a little bit low. It's been a while since I actually shot it. I'm just kind of doing the follow-up video to complete it now. But nice little firearm. I think I gave $110 for it. And I guess that's something, if you want something small like that you can conceal and hide really easy. 2 shots of 9mm coming out of this thing, and once you do a little work to it there, fires really good, cocks really easy to pull the trigger on there. Don't dry fire them. I seen another video guy did where he broke his firing pin. As soon as he got it, he was sitting here. He said he pulled it back, cocked it, fired it a couple times, broke the pin off of it. So I keep snap caps in it if I'm firing it, but little lever here, you just push it down, tilt it around, and what I always do is tilt the gun down so that I can tilt the handle up. That way your snap caps don't fall out, and then you got a little piece here you push up and your ammo comes up out of there. I tell you though, you see my snap caps drop right off of there. I did have a big problem with it though when I got to the range and actually shot it. These casings expanded and they wouldn't come out of here. I actually had to take this thing and lay it down on the table like so and shove it forward with it still pointing down range to make that little pin right there push up so I could get the rounds out of the gun. These snap caps, of course, just slide right out of there. But when you fire a casing, it expands in there, and it was getting a little bit stuck inside there. So how I was doing it down range was I was keeping it pointed down range. I was flipping this lever down, and then I was keeping the barrel down range and opening the gun. Turn it this way, and I was opening the gun like this. That way I could always keep it down range, take the ammo out. I could tilt it up here so I'm holding it here, but I've still got it down range. I can reload it and just close it back up and then lock it back down. So from the side I'm holding it, this is pointing down range, and I can fold it back shut and then just lock this back into place on it. So nice little gun for what you get, the value for what you're getting with the gun. You just remember you're going to have to take this thing apart. You're going to have to polish this thing up, put a little bit of grease on it to make it run and work properly, okay? Without doing that, it's a nightmare to try to pull that trigger on this firearm and even get this hammer to come back. But a little bit of time and effort, it's a nice little firearm there. So we took it apart here. I just popped the barrel off. It was pretty easy to screw. Take your 2 little side plates off here, the grips, pop them off. You got a push out pin here, pulls out the mechanism in the back, and then this piece here pulls out for your firing pin to come, not your firing pin, but for your trigger to come out. Do be careful. Right inside here, if you can see, right down inside there, that little spring, there's a little tiny ball bearing that sits on it. It just fell right out. I was able to get it, put it in my pan here where I'm keeping all my parts. So it was extremely dry when I took it apart. So what I did is I used Mother's and I shined. This is your trigger, the tip here where it all connects. I shined and polished all this stuff up so it shines really good. Try to make it nice and smooth. Don't lose any of your springs here. Same thing where the little cam rides here and the pieces for your trigger. I cleaned all this up and polished it up real good. The small cam that it rides on there, you can see I polished that thing up. It shines really good now. So it should move really well together when you put it together. I am going to use some grease as I reassemble this thing. The spring for when you cock it and pull your hammer back goes all the way through the bottom of the firearm right down through here. It actually goes in this way. I took a little bit off of the bottom of it here, okay? It was awfully hard to pull back, so I just took like 1.5 off of the little spirals here on the spring, 1.5 off of them. Took my Dremel and just kind of cut that off a little bit. Relieve it a little bit, take a little bit of pressure off of it, see if it won't help it maneuver, help with the trigger pull some on it a little bit. So I'm gonna try to reassemble this thing and put it back together real quick.